good.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of 8/26/25. Okay, I'll look to the side. Anthony, Frank, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, am I up first?
Yes, you
Okay,
are.
I know we discussed that, but.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, friends, family, and neighbors of the West Babylon School community. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to welcome you all back to school. And a warm welcome to the class of 2038. We also want to thank the students, their families, and all district staff for their patience and efforts in adjusting to the changes taking place. Our school district certainly looks and feels a little bit different this year. However, this difference extends beyond the noticeable change involved with district consolidation. From the many new faces who have joined our district staff, to the building improvements underway, the fiscal stability we are working towards, and how this board operates, we will make progress as intended and as promised. This job is not done. Every summer, before the district opens to students for the new year, the Board of Education is required to tour each building in the district. While there is much work to be done, we witnessed an enhanced sense of staff ownership and urgency throughout our district tour. It should make us all proud to know that despite the added tasks involved with district consolidation or the building preparation needed for the new year, it was evident that many of the classrooms celebrated the new school year with a bit more extra festivity, and the buildings and grounds crews continue to find new ways to maintain and address the much-needed updates and maintenance of our buildings. The needs of our district are not lost on us, but most impressive was that everyone seemed to be discussing what was next on the list. Whether it was creating new outdoor learning areas, spaces, taking on more in-house projects, finding new ways to update our aging buildings, sharing ideas for increasing operational efficiency, or dedicating new spaces to ensure students receive the educational support they need, just to name a few, it was all about what is next. This board is committed to achieving our promised fiscal stability and providing the consistent and high-quality education that the students and the community's families expect. It is about the quality of what our students are being offered, not the quantity. This same ideology was already evident in the most recent athletic presentation during our last meeting, and we expect it to continue throughout all areas of our district going forward. This board is not absent from its own self-reflection. We will continue to be accessible and incorporate learning sessions into our Board of Education business meetings to increase openness and understanding. Commit to personal development and engage with local officials to address the needs of our district. We have worked to foster an even stronger working relationship with our superintendent and her administrative team, and we look forward to continuing productive communication from within our own community. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Dr. Farrelly.
Excellent, thank you. So continuing with the same topic of opening of the school year, we absolutely had a strong start to the school year, and I want to once again extend my sincere thanks to our Buildings and Grounds team, our administrators, maintenance department, office assistants, Teachers Association, paraprofessionals, school resource officers, our PTAs, and everyone else who contributed to all of the efforts to a successful opening of the schools. Overall, the first days of school went smoothly, which is a direct reflection of the hard work, dedication, and collaboration of so many individuals. We do still have a few pending transportation concerns, specifically Route 312, that our transportation department is actively reviewing. We greatly appreciate the patience of our families that are specifically impacted by this route and one other, right, as options are being considered by our transportation department. A number of other route concerns that were raised during the first 3 days of school have already been resolved, and those families have been notified. I also want to commend Mr. Maddie and the entire transportation department. Despite the added challenges of establishing new routes created throughout our school district, the start of this school year has been much smoother, specifically as we compare it to last year. Most concerns, as I said, have been addressed, and the department continues to review the remaining ones. As always, if anyone has any questions or concerns, I encourage them to please reach out to our transportation office. In the next few Board of Education meetings, we have the following presentations scheduled by various team members. On September 30th, Mr. Payne will be presenting an update on UPK, and our auditors will be presenting our end-of-the-year report. Tonight, I will provide some context to the information that he's going to share right as part of the closing out of the books. On October 14th, Mr. Hanley will facilitate our tenure celebration prior to our Board of Education meeting. So we look forward to celebrating all those individuals who were recommended to receive tenure. During that same meeting, Mr. Payne will present information with regards to the reestablishment of our SAIL program. So again, this was part of kind of our ongoing discussions. So we're happy that we have those in place and that we will hear about how that's going. And on October 28th, always an exciting meeting, Mr. Payne will also present. It's a little lengthy, but we know we have to go through all of it, right? All of our results of our state assessments, which again are required and are also, I'm joking a little bit, but absolutely are important and part of, our school district. So again, just so that everyone is aware of those upcoming presentations. And last, but certainly not least, as part of this part of the agenda, in partnership with our PTA Council, the West Babylon School District invites all students, staff, and faculty to honor Patriot Day on Thursday, September 11th by wearing red, white, and blue. Together, we will pause to remember the lives lost, the families affected forever, and the countless heroes whose courage and sacrifice will never be forgotten. On Thursday, September 11th, our schools will also engage in age-appropriate activities and messages to honor this day. We are going to, I'm not sure if it already happened today or not, if not today, tomorrow, place flags in front of the senior high school and also in front of the junior high school. Again, this is specifically for September 11. Our elementary schools, morning announcements will focus on heroism, right, and the importance of helping others. Junior high school, the day will begin with a moment of silence during announcements to honor the lives lost and the many heroes who emerged that day. Social studies lessons will vary based on grade level and the age of our students, focusing on themes such as community response, resilience, and in some cases, documentary analysis of 9/11. At the senior high school, a more detailed account of 9/11 will be shared during announcements, followed by a moment of silence. In addition to remembering the lives lost and those who remain ill, gratitude will be expressed for our police officers, our firefighters, EMTs, and frontline workers who served heroically that day and continue to serve today. Our U.S. history classes will take a deeper look at the events and their lasting impact. Across all secondary grade levels, social studies classes will discuss and or emphasize historical understanding, empathy, and civic awareness, again, in age-appropriate ways. I mentioned in terms of the flags as well. With that being said, in advance of Thursday, I would like to ask everyone to please stand and pause for a moment of silence to remember the lives lost, the families forever affected, and the countless heroes whose courage and sacrifice will never be forgotten. Please be seated. Thank you. Okay, that's all I had for this section of the agenda.
Okay, next up. You're up.
Ms. Goebel,
Ms. Goebel, enjoy.
just press the button there. There we go.
Bring it nice and close so we could hear you really.
Today's report is a little bit shorter just because it's the very beginning of school. But I'm happy to say that the start of school so far has been a success. As a student body, we have had many things to adjust to with the start of this school year. As far as the phone ban goes, I know in the high school specifically, it's gone a lot smoother than we expected. Of course, with a few hiccups along the way, but for the most part, everybody has been able to adjust to the new policy. 6th and 9th grade students are acclimating to their new environments while elementary students get back into the swing of things. And many students are looking forward to the start of our football season with our first football game this Friday the 12th. And we all look forward to the rest of the 25-26 school year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have you noticed a difference in the building with the phones off?
I would say actually yes. Specifically during lunch, we are like playing Uno and all talking, which I enjoy. I think it's nice. I think, me personally, I always talk a lot, but I think it's been helpful, honestly, to people who have trouble making friends or it's kind of all you can do is talk to
Right.
people. So
That's
I
great.
think it's beneficial
Okay,
for the students.
great, thanks. Okay. You're up. Dr.
Okay,
Farrell?
yes. Reports. So I have two reports for tonight. One is specifically on the closeout of our budget, right, of our 24-25 school year budget. So during our September 30th Board of Education meeting I mentioned earlier, right, our external auditors, they've spent a considerable amount of time, right, in our business office. They will present the district's financials. I am pleased to share that consistent with the board's direction, right, we significantly reduced expenditures that were within our control last year, which generated additional savings that will help us replenish existing reserves and lower premium rates on certain critical budget expenditures. As you know, the prior year's budget required us to make difficult decisions, right? And every piece, right, throughout our entire district was affected. We held back on approving programs and requests, right, such as opening schools on Saturdays and holidays, refraining from authorized special facilities projects, right, during school breaks, like the December break and February break. We adjusted the way certain student services programs were provided throughout the district. We utilized grant funding, right, that was closing out to capacity to offset employee salaries that would otherwise have been paid for, right, through the general budget. So as a result, we realized substantial fund balance savings in the following areas, right? In the 1620 codes, and you're going to hear this again, right, with our external auditors. This is really more to provide some context, right, to the information that he will share. So in the 1620 codes, operations specifically, right, approximately $526,000 was left. 100% makes sense, right? No special facilities projects, right? So no overtime, not just overtime, but obviously the materials and everything associated with special projects, right? That wasn't in the mix, last year. The 21 codes, right? That's in terms of some salaries of teaching codes, right? So approximately 692,000, right, remaining there. Again, fantastic. We were able to use grants. Approximately 510,000 salaries were paid out of the grant instead of the general budget. Right. The 2250 codes in terms of special education, approximately $1.5 million remained, right, at the closeout of the school year, and that was specific to some tuition changes and some change in student programs and services and how we were providing those as well within the district. Keep in mind, just the prior year, we had the complete opposite swing, right, in some of these very codes, specifically special education. Pupil services, 133,000. Pupil transportation, approximately 119,000. Shared services, right? When you think about in terms of TRS, so TRS rates, approximately 132,000. ERS rates, approximately 300,000. FICA, approximately 481,000, right? And that we were discussing with our business office team, right? Specifically, right, as employees left, right, or as employees retired, or as employees were accessed, right, the FICA amounts there, right, remained in there, right, so that ultimately then realized in terms of that fund balance out of that code. Workers' compensation, approximately 117,000, not necessarily within our control, right, but nonetheless, that's there. Health insurance was the biggest one specifically, right? So health insurance for the entire year, if you recall, when we budget for our health insurance line, right? We know the amount for the first half of the school year, right? But we don't know the amount for the second half of the school year. So we had budgeted for 10% increase. That second half came in at 2% increase instead of the 10%. So we realized $1.6 million, right, in savings as a result of that. Now for this year's budget, we reduced, right, because we knew the first half wasn't 10%, was 2%, so we reduced the budget line already to account for that, right? But the spring semester, we still have it, right, projected at 10% because it could be, right? That's the in terms of unknown piece there. So in addition to these reduced expenditures, right, the district also realized additional revenue, including an increase of over $400,000 in refunds from BOCES. That's actually a little over $500,000 in refunds from BOCES for prior year's services. Again, right? Which is reflected in the miscellaneous revenue. Again, he'll go through those. In addition to the reduced expenditures and additional revenue line, the closeout books, this is a cost neutral piece, but it is going to be highlighted, so I wanted to bring it up here as well. The closeout of the books reflects $2.5 million that we borrowed in 24-25 school year, right? We borrowed it, so it came in, right? It's funds and money that came in for CVA settlement cases, right? So we recognize those proceeds, obviously, in the 24-25 school year, and then ultimately the expenditure, right, then happens. So ultimately that results in a net zero impact on the fund balance, but when they review all the pieces, that comes in as added revenue coming in, 2.5 million, even though it went back out, right, as part of the CVA, the CVA settlement cases. So these factors have allowed us to achieve a fund balance from reduced expenditures and increased revenue of approximately $5.8 million, right, for the end of the school year. That, again, doesn't include that 2.5 kind of wash piece there of the borrowing and the paying. So this is going to assist us, assist our board, assist our team, right, in rebuilding the reserves that had been depleted in recent years. As the board is aware, we were close to a downgrade, right, in our Moody's financial rating and financial district standing due to the declining reserves, right, like due to the last couple of years us consistently using it and not being able to put anything back, right? This positive financial closeout enables us to replenish those reserves and add funding to the capital reserve fund, right? So ultimately, as a district, right, capital improvements, this is a capital reserve that the voters approved, right, back in May of 2023. Remember, we established that with $1 million, right? So this will allow us to put money into that reserve, and ultimately, the board will be able to address longstanding critical needs, right, from a facilities perspective, that were part of that approved list of things that the voters approved, without affecting our taxpayers or without affecting our budget process, right? We'll be able to use the capital reserve to address, whatever you deem, right? I thought of something here, I thought of something here, I thought of something there, right? So I'm gonna pause and not mention any examples, whatever the board decides, right,
Without a bond.
Without a bond, correct, right? Without going out for a bond, without building it in as an added expenditure line into our budget, correct. So I look forward to the auditor's presentation later this month, right, which is going to provide the board all of this information, right, plus a full report. It's a big packet of all the numbers, and again, he'll reiterate some of these pieces. So it's what that corner we were looking to, obviously, in terms of turn. It's a financial position, again, that allows us to consider the gradual and thoughtful, right, reintroduction of some programs. We've already started that process, right? However, in doing so, I have to just kind of put my question button on, right? Proceed with caution, right? As the very same budget lines that provided us some relief, right, at the end of this year, health insurance, TRS, ERS, and special education, can fluctuate sharply from year to year and have historically been the case for us, right, and created significant budget pressures for us as a result of having such a tight budget in all the other areas, right? So again, keep that in mind that, yes, we're celebrating, yes, obviously that there was a tight kind of expenditure process in the whole district, and simultaneously some of those other lines worked out for us, in the past year. Those are the same lines that put us over the prior year. So I look forward to, again, the auditor's presentation next month, and then we can make some decisions from there and set up some follow-up meetings, from there. It is definitely great news, absolutely great news.
A quick question, you had mentioned refunds from BOCES. Do you mean aid from BOCES? When you say refunds, what?
Yeah, so a number of different things. So it could be, yes, aid, right? So a lot of what we do through BOCES, we do so even though there's an administration fee and all those pieces, because we get aid back, right?
Okay.
By going through BOCES, right? So there are certain contracts in play, there are certain services in play that you could just contract directly with, I'll say eSchool as an example, our student information system, right? That's a 6-digit figure, right, that we pay, every school district has to have a student information system. We go through BOCES. By going through BOCES, yes, there's a 10% admin fee, right, or whatever the percentage is for that year, we get aid back on that, right? So that's part of the mix. In addition to that, it could be maybe some services that weren't necessarily utilized. That's usually not necessarily the case, but sometimes that comes into play as well, right? I mean, that's pretty much the gist of, yeah. Yep.
The accounts you referenced, the retirement accounts, just to reiterate, their percentage of increase or their cost to the district is uncontrollable to the extent of
Correct.
what it's going to be. That's not set by us. That's not something we can directly impact.
Correct.
Other than number of employees and stuff. But for the most part, that percentage increase, you can budget tighter, but you can get hit and
You can
you'll be under again.
absolutely, and we've had these conversations, definitely, right?
Right.
Like when we go through the budget process of the increase in TRS is gonna be, we were just notified that is this, oh, ERS just came in, this percentage
Right.
is the increase. Or on another note, right, we account for, interest, rates, right? And we use our financial advisors, right, to guide us through that process. We've had meetings here where we didn't budget enough, right? Like, again, we had guidance based on, all the financial projections and whatnot, but it came in at a little higher rate, so then we had to
Right.
find, right, the remaining funds, right, to account for that. So, yes,
So
those are,
is it good news to have turned a corner in a sense, especially for those previous lines you discussed? But when
Absolutely.
it comes to the money from those budgeted areas, as much as those are nice numbers to hear, we can't consider those gravy because
No,
they can giveth
definitely
and taketh away just as quickly.
100%, definitely.
Right,
And
okay.
I'll also share, right, if you keep in mind, let's see, who remembers, what was our, you don't have to give it to the hundreds or tens and ones, right? But what was our budget last year? 100 and what million?
39,
100,
39,
what's this year?
139,
Same thing,
give or
right,
take. Yeah,
exactly,
right,
right?
exactly.
Like, so my point is, from one year to another, right, it's the same amount of millions of dollars in terms of the budget, right? Obviously, from one year to another, there are natural increases, right? The contractual increases, right? All those other pieces that are built into that. So yes, absolutely, 100%. They're right there, right?
Right.
Is something to keep in mind, that from one year to another, our total budget number is the same, right? Health insurance, again, that line from last year to this year, we dropped that down by, I don't know, close to like $1 million. Yeah, 800 something $1,000 in our budget process in developing this year's budget, right? Because the percentage was lower, right, for the fall. So we accounted for that and reduced it as well.
And the advantage, though, is that allowing for those accounts to suddenly spike in their increases is if we account for that, it doesn't impact the students in a negative way. It's not that we're then finding money from their programs to pay for those
To pay for
accounts.
it, which is
It's
what was
already
the prior year
bud-
was,
right,
correct.
correct.
Yes, right, because those are the lines that are within our control to
Correct,
adjust.
yeah.
Yes. So, again, the full report will come from the
Oh.
external orders.
I
Victoria,
just want to
please,
address
yes, Ms. Galante.
Chris's little concern. Yes, and that's why with this money from the close of this year, you're going to fund your reserves. So if you do get those spikes, you don't have to cut the programs.
Right.
You just use your reserves.
Right.
To a higher degree, but you don't deplete them again, like, you know what I'm
We
saying?
don't live off them.
Right,
Right.
right,
Correct.
right. You gotta
Right.
find that balance between using your reserve and, seeing what really is necessary and maybe things that are not necessary or things you could do in a different way
Right.
to kind of keep that balance.
Yeah, great.
Good point, definitely.
Thanks for sharing the,
Yes.
Preemptive
yes,
news with us.
Preemptive, yes, exactly. All right, and then the second piece, at our prior Board of Education meeting, the board requested a review of senior high school course offerings. This information was provided to the board last week. In general, right, courses are capped based on contractual class size limits, right? We have those based on elementary level, right, and depending on the grade level and depending on the subject area, they vary. So academic courses in general, right, at the high school are capped at 24 or 20 students, again, depending on the course. AP courses are capped at 35. Secondary PE classes up to 36 students per teacher. Electives, those vary again by subject. Certain, let's say, tech classes or whatnot, right, or maybe are capped at 20, right, where a lecture style elective would be capped at like 25, right? So it really depends on the class. Some students at the senior high school are assigned to study halls. This may occur, right, for several reasons. Could be lack of interest in the electives offered during that period. It could be that the students had already taken the electives available, right, during that particular time period, that period that they have available. It could be schedule restrictions due to singleton classes, meaning there's only one section, right, as opposed to multiple sections in different periods. Prerequisite for a course is not completed, right? You know, I don't know. Elective B is there, right? But they need to take A first, right? And A doesn't fit into their schedule. We also have some grade level priorities, right? So as an example, right, we want our seniors to definitely get their first choice, right? Juniors, followed by juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, right? If a freshman has this elective as their top choice, and again, based on seats available, they have multiple years to be able to get to that, right? So we want to make sure that the seniors and juniors, right, get into that. And from a senior's perspective, they may have already completed their courses offered during that period, or they may choose their senior privilege, right, in terms of the earlier dismissal. So those are just a couple of points. You know, today there were, you know, some questions that I just wanted to infuse them there. Any questions on the report that you received? The high school puts together again, but Sean, Scott, and I would be happy to chat and help.
So, do you have, I don't know if everyone has it, but, for example, let's take like social studies, happens period 7, it's a global 9R, right? And then there's a special ed section, global 9, same period, but it only shows 3 students. Is that a combined class possibly, or
So how many students in that second global you're referencing?
3?
3, so that is a smaller setting special ed program,
Okay.
capped at 15.
At 15. So, and then what about some of like the study halls where it has periods and teachers, but
No
zero?
No
It's all
students.
zero,
Yeah,
yeah.
so those are, so when you create study halls in a master schedule, you have to create first period, but you have to create first period blue days, first period gold days, first period blue days, semester 1 and 2. First period gold day semesters 1 and 2, and so forth. So you're going to have a variety of study halls available, depending on what elective that child chooses. Sometimes the opposite elective that runs with it is not available, so then you need a study hall to match up with. So
Okay.
it stays in it basically stays in the same period for whatever semester it is.
So most likely if there's only 1 or 2 students, they're not in that study hall per se.
No.
Or they could be. Oh.
Could be with the teacher, with 2 students.
But also, a lot of these also, they could have it one semester and not the other semester, right? Like just to, you know.
So is the question, why have a class with only 2 kids?
Well,
A study hall with only...
yeah, and you know, I'm just trying to process like some of them, like even like basic photography. That class, there's only 12 kids in there, but we have all these kids in study halls. That's what I'm just trying.
So if it's not offered in the same period, or the student is definitely not interested in. Now, we definitely pushed we want you in a class as opposed to in a study hall, but we didn't force the hand, right? Like, so if a student is, I'll say, non-music student at all, right?
Sure.
And that period that they have there, what's available is a piano and a guitar, and they're like, I have nothing to do with music, I don't want, right? Like, it's not then forced upon them then there. So it kind of depends on the student and the variable there. I don't know, Mr. Hanley, anything else to add to that?
And
It's
how
just
do we
pain.
know, I mean, obviously this is what's provided, right, so the kids see it and they pick, but comparable to like other school districts and whatnot and their offerings, are we pretty much up to date with what we offer as far as student interest?
That would be curriculum, I believe, would have to determine that. I mean, as far as,
Like, how do you-
from an HR
how do
point
you
of view, I
determine-
have my children that go to high school, and I can tell you in comparison to my home district, but I couldn't tell you with other home districts.
Right.
So with
Yeah,
my
it's
home
hard to-
districts, I
Yeah,
would say we are comparable.
I think some of it's based on staff. The answer is probably no. But to go in, you've got to judge your courses versus your staff and what teachers want or can teach. certain things. But the right way to do it would be to assess the student's interest, and I don't think that'd be the most efficient way, but that would be the right way to do it.
Yeah.
The other layer is teacher, so let's say you're AP teachers, right? Like, you need teachers to be interested in it and also be interested in taking doing the necessary work, right? For them to take on in terms of a certain, let's say, AP course. In terms of programming, right, and those types of things. So there's a couple different variables there. Science in particular, right? There isn't a science certified, it's not a general science kind of certification that covers all science courses at the high school, right? It's chem, physics, right? So all those pieces come into play. Right, we don't have an endless number of physics. Right? We don't have an endless number
I
of.
was just, that popped in my head over the weekend, because we were with a friend, and she's like, oh, I'm taking forensics, and I'm taking sports medicine, and my daughter was like, what? You have that? So, I was just wondering if we
Yeah.
are,
If you targeted your study hall demographics versus electives offered, you might be able to match up, and if you have a study hall that's predominantly freshmen, you might be able to target an elective at that same period. That would be probably more interesting than, let's say, an advanced art class or music class, like Dr. Farrelly was saying, at the same time.
So can you just refresh my memory? APs are considered electives, correct?
No.
Depending on the class.
No.
Right.
There are
Yeah.
some,
Yeah.
there
So-
are some
right, yeah.
elective APs, but the cores
Or not.
are cores.
Yeah.
So there are some art APs and things like that. Psychology is borderline
Yep.
AP. Like environmental is science, even.
So they would have to be offered, the core classes would have to be offered? The
Yeah,
AP core?
we have a very good AP offering. I don't think.
Yeah,
AP
no, I
is-
think it's great.
I agree. Yeah.
We have a very rich AP offering.
Mm-hmm.
But simultaneously, I know specifically last year, right, there were, 3 students for a particular class, right? And at 3 students, then that class wasn't right? Yeah. For a certain AP class, right? That's coming to mind.
Okay, thank you.
Other,
I do. Could you just walk me through, is a computer system helping with this? Is this all kind of done through your own?
Mr. Hanley can speak to this too, but we both do a lot of scheduling. It's both. Some of it has to be the human element, but the computer will do the grunt work.
Yeah.
But there has to be certain pieces that get put together that just make sense, that a computer, maybe they can, like in a month, but right now they can't really do. AI might be able to do it soon.
So,
maybe speak to the bones, right? Like you
So
start with the
the-
special ed and
so when a
science.
student comes down to guidance counselor, they should be taking their elective choices, and they should ranking them 1, 2, 3, 4. This system that we use, eSchool, I know I've used it. You can put in up to 4 elective choices for the students, and you can give it a priority number, and it will try to schedule the student with priority 1. Then if it can't get 1, it goes to 2. If it can get 1 and 2, then it goes to 3 before it goes to 4. And then, as Mr. Payne said, there's always cleanup. It's not a perfect science in the sense that it gets everyone perfectly scheduled. At best, you'll get about a low 80 number for the whole building. No matter what you do, you can't you can't computer schedule the remaining 17, 20% of the students, because they will always miss something in their schedule. And it varies depending on the child and the program that they're in. And then once you do that, then it's all hand scheduling for the remainder of those students.
Does eSchool have a component where it kind of speaks to the interest within the elective areas, or there's not really that?
When you say
Meaning
interest,
like,
and that
we've
just,
been running this for 3 years, we've been running this elective, and it's always been lower on the interest. We should probably look into presenting a different elective that might have more interest. Does it have that ability to do that?
not eSchool.
Not
No,
eSchool.
that's the
However, I know, I believe, Mr. Payne, didn't we do some sort of elective review not too long ago about refreshing some of the
We did.
electives?
But again, it falls into staffing and certain staffing areas not being able to get them, business, tech, things like that.
And does it consider, like you kind of were alluding to, like if you're teaching 6 different electives as a teacher, you can't have that many prep periods, you have to prep for that many
The
classes.
computer
It
won't do
doesn't
that right now, but
Yeah.
That's
again,
the
like we
human
were saying,
element
if you offered a high-level math or physics or science class along with an elective in coding, you probably wouldn't want to put those two together. The computer wouldn't know that.
Okay.
But if you put them together, you're going to probably conflict with the kids that want to take both.
The other added piece there, right, is students that have special programs, right? So if a student has, let's say, a half ICT program, right, integrated setting, and then self-contained classes, right? That particular self-contained 10th grade, 11th grade English class is a singleton, right? Like, so it happens to be, right? So those pieces come into the mix and become a little bit more difficult when you have students that have very specific, programs, right, that they need, right, in terms of to support them.
I'll do the short version. This is not going to be popular, but if you wanted to reduce your study halls and you wanted to do a meta-analysis of all the courses, we could do that. It would probably just cost sections. You'd probably have to.
Oh, absolute cost, yeah.
But we
definitely.
could do it.
Yeah.
We could easily reduce.
Right, the example that Mr. Payne shared beforehand, right, if you can have, after analyzing, you notice that it's X number of students in that particular grade in that particular period, the concept of taking a look at what could be added, right, as point two, right, in terms of a schedule for that period to fulfill that particular ask or interest, right, for that period, for that group. Yep.
And I think the students would benefit from it, tremendously if we were able to do that. And it would be a lot of work, but I think it would be worth it. I'm completely making this up, so don't quote me, but like, economics of comic books for the right study hall, you'd probably pull every kid out of that study hall into that class. An valuable class, not just a silly one. But it's something we'd have to really be specific on.
Historically, when you've created new electives, have you met with the teachers? Have you met, like, what
Yes.
is
The
that
teachers,
typically
There's a
like?
whole
teachers
process,
generally
yep.
come up with
They
it.
steer that ship, okay.
Yeah, they definitely steer that ship. And actually, over the last couple of years, we've had presentations, because any new ones that we add into the mix, we come to a board meeting, we share that. I think the last time there was a handful of them, right?
Yep.
Mr. O'Leary, was here, and those were, again, driven by the teachers, and the board authorized for us to add those.
Okay.
Maybe
Yep.
that would be something we could have a presentation
Yeah, we could, well, in terms of what, the,
on. Introducing some ideas on new electives, new interests.
yeah, so
you
I
know.
think twofold to bring up, yes. So you mean similar to whenever it was a couple years ago when Mr. O'Leary came, again, the process is a true teacher-generated process, right, in terms of, areas and topics in terms of to introduce of new courses, right? And then again, that ends with a presentation here, as it did a couple years ago, and then we added it. I want everyone to keep in mind that we still have the same total number of students. Right, I think it's important for me to repeat that. We still have the same total number of students, so the pie is still sliced in the same way. So the other piece that's an interesting kind of dilemma to have, right, is as you add more courses, right, some of those other courses that currently have 15 or 16 in terms of students may pull some, and now you have 8 interested in this
like with
one
sports teams.
and 7 interested in this one, and I can't run both of them, right? I mean, they'll have to go into something else. So that's an interesting piece. We were even talking about, I forget who, maybe it was us. I forget who, but as we add, let's say, additional spots of students going to BOCES, right? They're leaving for a half-day program at BOCES, right? Fantastic programs at BOCES. We all know those, right? That's less students here for our electives. So it all plays a role, right, in terms of total number of students, definitely.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to add on courses? All right, that's it. If you think of other questions afterwards, feel free to shoot an email, right, and we'll address it. Thank you. That's all I had for this section.
Okay. Statement of residents on agenda items only. Residents wishing to share a statement must state their name, address, and any organization they represent. They can also write their information on an index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. Comments about individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting.
I feel like everyone's staring at Margaret.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. John, Anthony, all those in favor? Okay, that's everyone. Policy review. Motion to waive the first time reading and adopt policy 1500-R as revised. Patty, Steve, all those in favor? Motion passes. We need a motion to waive first time reading and adopt policy 1500-E as revised. John, Kirsten, all those in favor?
I have one question. I'm still fine with it with A. There was one part that was crossed out with the use of the soccer fields. Was that because they're using our soccer fields?
I'm sorry, what item are you referring to?
Public use facilities.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we
So it's basically, not necessarily that it's gonna happen all the time, but to have the flexibility to be able to account for those types of things to allow people to use it. Again, obviously within a reasonable time of day and whatnot, yes, that's exactly why.
I was just like, wait, we just changed
Yeah, yep, yeah.
to resolve it. So that's why the South Shore League hasn't played there for at least until the fall.
Good. Any old business? New business? That's my discussion item, yeah. I just, if those who were, I think everybody was on the building walkthroughs, it was very noticeable when we were in the schools, especially the elementary schools, when the ceilings had been redone and the LED lighting was in place, what a difference it made, just in the overall impression and feel of the building. I'd like to request if we could get an estimate per elementary building to redo the ceilings and install the LED lighting in the main hallways of each elementary. If we could get that broken down by building, cost, labor, and time for completion.
Done in-house or?
In-house, yeah, we had started that in the junior high, and the first year they did it, it was kind of neat to see the one hallway done and the other one not. It was night and day, and that's been completed. But you recall some of the, even in like Sanapog, some of it's done, some of it's not.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference, you know, especially even just visiting Tooker, which is, you know, a very clean school, just that lighting just takes away from that initial impression. In all the buildings it does, but just for us to get an idea of what's involved for each building. So possibly to do in-house, and then we know what's required, you know, is it over the summer, is it a week off, is it, you know, what is it that we would need, and then we can just break it down by building and time frame, so.
Okay. we
Just the main
will-
hallways.
Yes.
In the
so we'll-
classrooms, we
we'll-
can do
Yes, we'll
different-
work on, and just by way of background, again, this has been an in-house, in-district project and goal, right, to be, so the last couple of years, our team has been doing it across various different, you know, summers. So the remaining hallways, we will put together a cost analysis for that, and then we'll share it with the board.
Great. All right.
And then I had just one quick piece I emailed the board as part of, again, our goals, right, professional development, right, for everyone. Concept being, do we want to schedule a professional development session, right, for our team? And if so, the topic of fiscal governance or fiscal, you know, specifically under the world of finance, right? You know, we were chatting that may be, you know, beneficial. Again, there's so much language and jargon, right, that comes up with rates, right, with all aspects of finance, right? So would the board be interested in that? And if so, then we will reach out. There are some opportunities through New York State School Boards Association. There's also through Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association. I shared with the board a presentation that Ms. Parada found, right, on one of those sites that definitely has a lot of great information there as well. So A, is there an interest? And B, if the answer to that is yes, would you like it to be on specifically finance and fiscal governance?
I would.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So then, Ms. Parada, we'll work on that, and we'll coordinate kind of the logistics and the specifics through Chris.
Yep, sounds
All right.
good.
That's all I had. Thank you. It's okay.
You mentioned about the light, is our solar here all hooked up now, like done working yet?
I think most of them are.
Yeah, but the high school.
Okay, there we go.
The high school, they're going to power it up on the 23rd.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're shutting down. Yep.
And did they say, like, at what point you can see, like, when you should start saving? Like in a, oh.
No, actually, immediately. Yeah. Yeah, gradually, and remember, that's part of the energy performance contract, right? So the savings from, two things, the savings from that pays for the project that has happened, but definitely in some areas will benefit from some additional savings, like actually part of last year also was some utility savings as well.
The electric.
Yep, so we were actually talking that we wonder if that already played a role in it, because some of it was turned on a little while ago too.
The electric.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a program that they use that will generate reports to show us the savings from the solar. So we haven't gotten those reports yet, because not all of them are hooked up.
Gotcha.
The LED lighting in the hallways in elementary school, that wasn't part of the program?
So some was and some was not. Some we did internally, right? And then some was part of the energy performance contract.
What are they supposed to be done
soon it will be. Because we're already talking about the next phase, yes, of an energy performance contract. Because again, the nice piece of that is, you know, the obvious, right, in terms of its purpose, right? And simultaneously, it's work that gets done that from a taxpayer community perspective that we're not adding a budget line, right, to address for our facilities. So almost done.
In
Yes.
some cases, when we're doing the walkthroughs, they were not able to change the lighting fixtures themselves because of those ceilings that we have that you cannot
Touch
you
without
cannot
falling.
retrofit anything for. They were not going to replace the ceilings, so they just did bulbs in some cases. And it's better, but it doesn't take the place of areas that were. Yeah, so.
Doesn't give it the nice look.
It didn't even shed the light that a normal LED fixture would. It's basically a replacement for now, and it's doing its job. But to be consistent, it make a huge difference, yeah.
So what you're saying is when we're wanting the suggestion to refresh the lighting and the time, you know, like we do the labor, but we're gonna buy the material.
Yeah,
You know,
it-
and then redo the grid, put in some new tile,
Yeah,
and
I
then put in
think-
the nice fixtures like these guys.
When the district had went out for the big capital project,
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number, but it was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars
Okay.
to redo the ceilings, right? I mean, if not
Yes,
a million or
yes.
something.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount. And then we had started it in-house, and
A fraction of the
it
cost,
was a
definitely.
fraction.
Yeah.
And I would say done better, you
Yeah.
know? So that's when we started to look at that. And we're going to have a facilities review at some point with our new architect.
We definitely are,
And that will
yes.
be, you'll see detailed items like that on that review. It's a quite extensive review, everything from lighting to steam fittings to brickwork and,
Yep.
you know, mortar cracks.
Yeah.
And then we can start to look at what we can do in-house, what maybe has to get done elsewhere.
Yeah, I
but-
agree. If we can make the main hallways a little bit more inviting, a little
good
bit
start.
more, you know, a little bit more vibrant, I think it gives a better,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, representation of
Sure.
our building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the ask was in terms of, we're gonna put together the cost analysis
Right,
of that, and then I'll bring it to the
Yep.
board, and then the board will authorize, you know, in terms of the next steps from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Statement of residents. Residents wishing to make a statement on any general topic, come to the podium, state their name, address, and any organization they represent. They can also write their information on the index card and give it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Comments, individual students or employees are not permitted. Each resident will have up to 3 minutes to speak, with a total of 15 minutes allotted. Responses will be given after all statements. Questions needing further research will be addressed at the next meeting. Good? All right. Okay, that's it. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn. Anthony, John, all those in favor? Okay.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.